Italiano, Italian word of the day for today, Friday, 14 August 2026 AD. From me, Tanis, she, her, hers of Seattle, to you is interrogare, which translates to English as interrogate. And to interrogate, interrogate is to probe another for information. That could be questioning. It could be, what is this thing? Thinking of a prisoner of war context or prison in general, or torture. There could be, in a military setting, a prisoner of war. If somebody has, say, logistical information about the war or an understanding of kind of like the binding contracts of war, so to speak, like soulmate connections are a real thing, and it actually translates to particular military kind of operations. Then somebody like me perhaps would get tortured for, and when did you lose your virginity with Tom Holland? Okay, and then they go, no, you're not going to answer, you're not going to talk. All right, then let's talk about something that falls in the realm of females and the fates of ancient Greece. Death. Women have commonly and divinely been bestowed with death. So we're gonna probe you on your Romeos and your death order of your soulmates. I'm like, oh, that's a tough one. And they actually go, and we're gonna also test to see if you're a psychopath. And this all corresponds to structural elements of how a war operates. And so I'm like, so there's one that, like, depending on if one's a man or a woman and what that actually corresponds to, it may or may not be straightforward. So if that's structural information, then I might be, a prisoner of war might be by happenstance, like something happens and a person ends up in enemy territory and gets apprehended, or if a person is desired and they're like, think of it as like their intellectual property or their mind or something else about them is highly desired and they want to extract it, they being the enemy, from the person, in that context anyway, they might seek the person out. If they become seekers of a particular person to abduct them and then put them in a prison setting and try and extract that information or whatever it may be from them, in a military setting. So in that one, all right, so there's a war going on, and then one side sends a convoy, I don't know, off to another, and to attack an enemy convoy, and there goes a person who was deliberately extracted to be a prisoner of war, as opposed to the person who, like, ends up in enemy territory, not necessarily intentionally. He's like, I'm sorry, I don't want to be here. And they're like, well, we got to take you anyway. So there we go. And so interrogation is kind of like a method used, or a set of methods perhaps, or processes used to try and extract information or probe a person. Even maybe they're like, well, we're testing your psychopathic abilities. We're not necessarily looking to extract anything. We're just probing. So there we go. So in English as interrogate, in Italian as interrogare.